Hear ye, hear ye, here we are again. We had such a good debate the other night regarding Brian Thomas Jr. that I thought I'd bring him back and pit him against another player that has so much upside in Malik Nabers. And we need to discuss which one of these players walking into 2025 is the better player to own. We can have a dynasty sidebar conversation, no doubt about it, in the middle of all this. Mention dynasty, but we are focusing on 2025. We're also focusing on two players at the same position, wide receiver, two players that probably will linger around the same ADP, so there's no argument of cost of entry difference. These are two ballers that are coming for everybody in 2025. The question is, which one do you like better? All things included. Cost of entry, again, very similar. Upside, very similar. Quarterback situations, maybe this improves more than this situation, but for right now, we're looking at a broken quarterback carousel of garbage over in New York, but they're probably going to solve that, right? Wrong? Right? I don't know. You be the judge. I'm the judge. What am I talking about? You are the jury. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now. Fantasy Football Court Edition. File on in.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Live whenever news breaks. Live whenever we've got something interesting to talk about. We're here to discuss two potential top 5 wide receivers for 2025, not just dynasty, not just long term. These are two potential top 5 wide receivers for 2025. Now, this man, even calling him potential is disrespectful. He was number 4. We broke it down on the London versus Brian Thomas Jr. debate, episode 1 of the Fantasy Football Court, and it was kind of a wash. London is a fantastic player in a better situation than Brian Thomas, but then you could argue, and we went in circles. We deemed that it was a mistrial, undecided. We talked about how this man might be in a very quietly better situation than you want to portray if you're trying to make an argument for London or another player like Nabers, because really they're down, they're throwing the ball. He's quarterback proof. It doesn't matter who's in there. So how is the situation going to get any better? He's just going to keep getting fed no matter what. I think everybody can agree that if Trevor Lawrence becomes better, stays in the lineup, stays healthy, the new coach comes in, the system's perfect for T-Law, and they're an arsenal, an aerial attack, that's better for BTJ. Of course it is. Who do they take in the draft in their top 10 pick? Do they take Ashton Genty? Will that help out? That could be phenomenal. T-Law, Brian Thomas Jr., Ashton Genty tripod would be phenomenal. Malik Nabers is a player that I think has so much appeal just on the surface level. Without even knowing who his quarterback is, we're assuming they bring in Fields in a worst case scenario, maybe Cousins in the very worst case scenario, which we don't love because look what London just did. But they bring in a quarterback like that, okay, or they're drafting Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, one of the top 2 rookie running back or quarterbacks walking into the 2025 NFL draft. These quarterbacks are maybe not as good as even Drake May as a prospect, you could say. What's the word? Appreciate you dropping the $20 holler, my boy. I'm coming straight for you. Hang tight. This is a tough debate to kick off. You have a player that was the prospect, the guy. Him and MHJ were the guys, the 2 top dog wide receivers, but he was very much right behind him, and then he drops the top 4 season. It is hard to say, how in the hell do you not have this guy higher than this guy? When he finished number 4, he was quarterback proof. We pull up the numbers. Where was Malik Nabers? Number 6. BT4. Malik Nabers 6. In between Drake London. I believe that's, season stat. Oh, are those updated finally? I think those updated from week 18. Because this is when I look at it, is 2024 season stats. Drake London is now coming in at 5. He was yesterday when we did this or the day before, he was coming in below that. So you have BTJ at 4, Drake London at 5, and Malik Nabers at 6. So clearly that's accounting for week 18, I imagine, because it changed. This is phenomenal. We're talking about 3 players that were neck and neck and neck the entire way, 4, 5, 6. So London, we had the debate. It was a mistrial. I imagine this will be a mistrial too. I don't mean to be biased here and inject some influence here from the jump. But, I mean, this guy has every bit as talent. He's every bit as talented as any wide receiver already in the National Football League. You could say that he's on Jamar Chase's level from a talent perspective right out of the box. Then you give him a better quarterback, which he's surely going to get. Whether it's going to be Cam, Ward, or Shadur, or Fields, or other, he's getting an upgrade. Danny Dimes was garbage. Okay, their entire rotation was garbage. They're going to get an upgrade. It's going to be very interesting to see what this kid can become without hospital balls 24/7. It's a crazy debate. It's a debate I think is going to end in an absolute mistrial. I think it's going to be a hung jury. I don't see how this thing is going to go a different way, but I'm going to leave it up to you to try and convince Your Honor, who's already biasly in favor of calling a mistrial in a hung jury. I'm already ready to do that. Change my mind. Change my mind. Are you going to make me lean toward Nabers? Am I going to lean toward Brian Thomas Jr.? Right now, I'm leaning straight down the middle. Bring it. Bring it strong. Bring the thunder. And might I add, we have not to influence all of you watching right now, but we've got a new video drop. We've got a new BT video drop. Here it is.
He's BTJ. What you gonna do? He's BTJ. He's gonna put it on you. He's BTJ. Gonna have a good game. He's BTJ. Your mama screams his name. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do.
BTJ is here to stay. BTJ is here to stay. Nabers, it's unfair. Nabers doesn't have a video drop yet, but I do promise to work on that and get it up very, very shortly. Let's hit these 2 super chats, then we'll open the phone lines and take your phone calls. But the phone callers will become counsel to one of these 2 sides. So be prepared to argue, and you might be stuck on a team you don't want to be on. You might be told you're going to argue Nabers, or you might be told you're going to argue BT. This super chat here is from my boy, what's the word, $20 hauler. Appreciate you. I drafted Nabers in the 4th round and Ladd in the 10th round keeper league. Likely draft 9th out of 12. Snake draft. Who do I keep? Leaning Ladd for the value. You know, that is tough. If there's consecutive, keeper league year value, I probably lean Nabers slightly. I like Ladd McConkey a ton at that value, but 4th is still good. It's still good enough. I'd probably say Nabers in the 4th round. That's pretty damn good, bro. You're talking about you're drafting 9, right? So that, that's high. It's somewhat high in the 4th round, but bro, if you can lock him in for multiple years, like long term, if it's 1 keeper year or 2 keeper years, that might sway me a little bit. But I think Nabers, that's good enough keeper value that I'm probably going to say Nabers for me, just because I think he's on a whole nother level than Ladd. I like Ladd McConkey a lot. Love BT. He helped me win a championship, but is he really worth the top 15 pick? I think he is. Is he worth the 1st rounder? That's going to be where the line is for a lot of people, but I think 2nd round pick, sure. I don't know why I can't wrap my head around it. You will. We'll hit enough BTJ jams that I think you'll be swinging on in and be very much in favor of 2nd round value. But I do believe near round 1 does become a little complicated. Okay, dial in. But if you call, be prepared to argue your case. We're not taking random phone calls for your random selfish teams. We're doing a BTJ versus Malik Nabers. court case. So dial in, dial in, dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
All right. Our first council member is Dre. Dre, what attorney are you going to be representing? Who's your client?
Good afternoon, Judge. I'm here on behalf of BTJ.
Okay, on behalf of BTJ, I got you here. Let me write this down and make sure I have it all in order here. BTJ, we have Dre. Okay, Dre, thank you. Who is going to represent Malik Nabers? We don't have a single Malik Nabers provided by the state council. Let's see if Nico can come in here and represent Malik Nabers. Nico, welcome. You're live. Are you representing Mr. Nabers tonight? Okay, you're obviously not prepared, Nico.
Oh, it just came on. I'm sorry.
Bye-bye. Call back, Nico. We'll give you one more try. Call back. That might have been a potential problem that he was not a part of. It just was technological mishap. Let's go ahead and give him one more chance. Nico, okay, maybe there was a technical problem.
Hey.
Nico, are you Team Nabers?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, are you going to be council member?
I am Team Nabers, despite our last conversation on Malik Nabers.
Okay. Let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to give the opening statement to Dre. Dre, you are up, my friend. Go ahead. You got 30 seconds to about a minute, as long as you're entertaining us and not saying things like, the reason I like, let me read from my piece of paper. The reason I like Nabers is because I think he's great. He'll be better, and I just think he catches a lot of footballs, and he's probably just going to be very active. And I just think that BTJ, I just think in my gut, he'll probably have a lesser year in his sophomore slump just because I think so. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dre. You're live.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Dre. I'm here for BTJ. One of the things that, the statistics will show why BTJ is a superior choice for this upcoming season is his yards after catch, is how he has a higher percentage than Nabers. His durability. Malik Nabers has had durability in question this year with the concussion and his immature decisions to go to a Travis Scott concert. Come on, guys. So those are two things I really want to point out. I'm going to leave some of the fat for the case for the other council. Thank you so much. I'll leave that for that.
That's a pretty decent opening. Some might object to the, concert thing, but hey, his decisions during that moment in time, if you reflect back during that week, it was very much called in question by the majority of the media. Like, what's he doing? Is he injured? Why is he going to a concert right now? Is his head on straight? And then to his point about getting injured and not being durable, I think some of that concern is hospital balls being thrown to him. I don't know that he's an injury risk. I think he's just been put in an injury risky situation time and time again. The question will be, and we'll see if Nico can address this, is will the situation change? Because if it doesn't, then hospital balls shall continue. And injury risk shall continue as well. Go ahead, Nico. You're live on the show here, representing your client, Malik Nabers. You just heard the first defense. We have two defenses in these proceedings. The first defense, he said that BT is the better option. Speak now.
Thank you, Judge Smitty.
Yes.
I'm representing my client here, Malik Nabers, and I just wanted to say he was absolutely put through it this year. I think he showed a lot of, genuinely a lot of grit having to deal with the awful situation that he had. And I think he really does maintain his status as a superstar wide receiver. I have some numbers here. Malik Nabers, I believe, finished second in the entire league in targets. And whereas Brian Thomas has a lot of the efficiency, dealing with the situation Malik Nabers was dealing with, he was still incredibly efficient with the number of targets and third in receptions, finished third in receptions. And that's with one of the worst quarterback situations, one of the worst offensive situations to deal with as a wide receiver in the National Football League. You have to imagine with the Giants owner coming out and saying that hey, we're going to make change, and I'm expecting change to happen quickly. Brian Daboll is going to be on an incredibly short leash. They're going to get this quarterback situation figured out, and Malik Nabers is going to finish as a top 5 wide receiver next year.
Okay, let me address a couple things real quick before I flip back to the defense of BT, and just say that I did some fact checking while you were running your mouth about these stats, and you were 100% correct. He was speaking the reception, third in receptions, 109 versus BT. BT had, what was he? BT was 12th in receptions with 87. But, there is an argument to be made that, BT, they just play different. BT's a bigger, explosive, long play, breakaway guy. And so, can you fault BT for being in the end zone and not needing more yardage? Like, there's that argument to make. Like, whenever somebody says, oh, he only gets 15 carries or 14 carries. But yeah, when they're breakaway runs for touchdowns, he doesn't need carries. So BT's a different player. Definitely a field stretcher. Nabers can do that, but Nabers is kind of the versatile, all over the field Jamar Chase type, so he's constantly all over, knifing across the field. BT's being sent on these go routes, not all the time, but he's constantly catching a 40-yard pass. I guess if my life were on the line as a judge, and he said, Your Honor, pick somebody this weekend to catch a 40-yard plus reception, I would say BTJ. Okay, and then Andre says a comment here, says concert with a concussion. This is an expert witness putting his summons out here, his testimony. Concert with a concussion, breaking protocol, not a team first guy. And I've got to say, it doesn't feel very team first for him to be thinking like that. He is a young kid. Let me go back over to Dre. Dre, what do you have to say to rebuttal any of what Nico said before I give Nico the final say?
For sure. So that was me. Remember Andre, same guy. One of the things I wanted to point out was that he mentioned targets, right? He was throwing out all these numbers. Baby, football boils down to one thing, touchdowns. And I'm going to give you 2 numbers. BTJ had 10 touchdowns this year on less targets, and Malik Nabers only had 7. That's all we care about. That's all we have to talk about.
I mean, look, the TD, yeah. And he did have a better situation for, the beginning part of the season, for sure, because Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Nabers ever had. But when you look at the numbers, BTJ was actually doing better yardage-wise and target-wise at the end of the year. So it's confusing to break down BTJ. One could even argue, based on what I just told you, that he's better off without Trevor Lawrence. He's better off with a crap quarterback because he actually played a little bit better. But this is definitely the definition of QB proof right here. Nabers is pretty damn QB proof too. These both are 2 QB proof players. And again, at the end of the day, it's very important for this court to acknowledge that BTJ is number 4 overall through week 18. And Malik Nabers was number 6. So we're almost splitting hairs here. This is why I came in with a very close-minded approach. Very close-minded approach. Very, very biasly prone to throwing this entire trial because there's no law and order up in this courtroom. And I'm very, very much still leaning for a mistrial because there's no telling which one of these monsters goes from 4 or 6 overall to 2. Because they both could. They could be exactly dead even in terms of value. Who do I have closing? Is it Nico? Nico, go ahead.
I'll take it. I'd be happy to. I believe the other side had argued that, hey, Brian Thomas had 10 touchdowns and 10's greater than 7, but Malik Nabers is no slouch to find in the end zone. 7 touchdowns when you have to deal with a quarterback carousel of Tim Boyle, Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock, and
but will it change? Will it change? What is your assertion? What is your assertion here? What's your guarantee? What's your percentage of likelihood that this man does see a better day at the quarterback position because Joe Shinebox returning for more action, the guy that set everything up that you saw, he's supposed to be the guy to get it done and go get a good quarterback? Like, what is your assurance to the court that we're not going to see you back here again?
as difficult as it is for me to put my faith in Joe Scheinbach, the owner made it known. These people are on the shortest leash, the hottest seat. He's wanting to see drastic change this next season. He's going to want to see this team at the very least battling for a playoff spot, if not in the playoffs. So I almost have 100% guarantee that this organization is going to move heaven and earth to get some sort of substantial upgrade at the quarterback position. As much as I might have issues with their head coach, he was able to make Daniel Jones look like a Pro Bowler. All right.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of better quarterbacks than Daniel Jones. So just the aspect
Don't lie to
of
me in this
getting
courtroom.
an upgrade.
Be careful. You're on the verge of lying to your honor with that statement. Okay, let me go real quickly. I didn't tell any of you, but there's a surprise special witness. I don't think either of you were prepared for this witness. KJV from Texas. What do you have to say about this court case here? We're ready to hear your expert testimony, and you will be put in temporary private custody after, depending on what you say. Go ahead.
Okay. First off, sir, I am witness that BTJ is the far more talented wide receiver. From what I have witnessed on the field, he is faster, he runs better routes, and he has proven that it doesn't matter what quarterback is throwing him the ball.
I would venture to say better routes is a tough one. That's a tough sell for me. I think you want to say he's faster. Sure, he's the fastest wide receiver of his rookie draft class.
He
better routes is a little bit loosely supported. Overruled.
Yeah.
Overturned.
Overruled.
Overturned.
All right. I rest my case.
All right. You don't rest anything. You're an expert witness. All right. Go back into the shadows. I'm going to give Dre, this courtroom's corrupt anyway. I'm going to give Dre one final 20-second stab at this, and I'm going to make a ruling.
Hi, guys. So thanks again. So, yeah, once again, the other side, they're trying to make a case about numbers. And I think that everyone here, more or less,
got the speaker. Hold on. I got to get rid of that caller. No show for you. You call in with the show in the background. Like, you're going to get hung up on. You're not getting back in. Go ahead. I'm sorry you were interrupted. Go ahead.
It's okay. Malik Nabers has 20 more receptions, 40 more targets, and 80 less yards, 3 less touchdowns. When we're going into fantasy, we're looking for someone who is productive.
That's good.
Productive despite the situation. Nabers has gotten more opportunities and has done less. What is a better quarterback really going to do for him? We have to assume that these guys are going to walk into the same situation. And if we assume that these guys are walking into the same situation, BTJ is clearly cut out to be the one that everyone should push the green button on. Thank you.
Okay, I look, I might surprise everybody here. I've got a little bit of a lean here. Got a little bit of a lean. I think at the end of the day, this goes back to the argument of Chase Brown versus Bucky. If you guys haven't seen that court case, go watch it. On my YouTube channel, every single one of these fantasy football court episodes will be on its own row on my main YouTube homepage. So if you just scroll down to about the middle of my YouTube homepage, you will see fantasy football court row, and it'll have every single one of these and only these in that row. So my homepage on YouTube, my main page, will be very organized in 2025, starting with this series right here. In that Bucky versus Chase Brown case, I made it very clear that if push came to shove and I had to judge based on talent alone, and that's not what we're asking here. The question is, who would you rather have in fantasy football 2025 can't separate situation from player? My answer was that Bucky, I felt, was a more talented physical specimen. I think the same thing could be said here in favor of Nabers, not by a lot though, but just that the overall well-roundedness of this kid from top to bottom. May BTJ be better in a few categories? Speed, jump ball, even though they're both amazing jump ball players. Like, there's a couple things I would definitely say that Thomas Jr. leans toward, but overall, Nabers, if put in a better situation than last year, and I do assume that Joe Get Your Shine Box shine is going to figure out a way to get him at least a better situation. That could screw this whole thing up. I'm going to put my faith in a guy named Joe Scheinbach. I think that if he gets an enhanced situation by even a little bit, it's going to be a wild ride. I think this kid, given that he was number 6 overall for all wide receivers as a rookie, coming on strong, being held back by a situation, I think the sky's the limit. Number 2 or 3 overall wide receiver finish for Nabers is in the cards this year. I think BTJ will remain in his very high ranked place of 4 to 7, 4 to 8, which is phenomenal. But I do feel like there is a certain level of talent and ability that Nabers has slightly over BTJ. And because I do predict that the situations will be very similar at worst, I'm going to lean in favor of Malik Nabers by a hair. Case closed. I'm sorry. I'm clearing the phone line. You want to call back for a different part of the show, I'll open the phone lines in a minute. But case is closed. This court is ruling in favor of Malik Nabers by a hair. Case adjourned. Case adjourned.
It's time for fantasy football. Court!
Phone lines will be open for discussion about this closed case. You can argue your whatever you want, whatever side you want, but you're not going to change my mind. If I'm ranking these guys, I have Nabers slightly ahead, just by a hair. I think there's still arguments to be made here, but this is the pure specimen top. This is Jamar Chase. This is CeeDee Lamb. Like, you understand what I'm saying before you get your panties in a bunch and you say something like, hey, how could you? We're talking about CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase. We're talking about a guy that could outscore. CeeDee Lamb could outscore Jamar any given year, but overall, Jamar Chase probably finishes 1 or 2, Lamb's 2, 3, or 4. We're splitting hairs, but I am not going to continue to make every one of these cases a wash or a mistrial and be afraid to step in and biasly hit my gavel down upon the bring the wood down like thunder in favor of one of these monsters. And let's give BTJ his kudos, his credit. We even have a video drop for him, and I don't even have a video drop for Nabers. Here's your BTJ video drop.
He's BTJ. What you gonna do? He's BTJ. He's gonna put it on you. He's BTJ. Gonna have a good game. He's BTJ. Your mama screams his name. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Dial in to the Attic.shop phone lines. Dial in if you'd like to discuss this any further. Your boy Smitty is here to have the conversation with you that I think other people are afraid to have, but we're not afraid to have it on this channel, and I will have that conversation right now with any one of you. Dial in. BTJ putting it, he certainly is. Okay, 225 caller. 225 caller, you are live on the show. What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Jarvis. I'm from Houston, Texas.
Jarvis, what can I do for you, pal?
I know you closed the case, man, and I'm a big LSU fan. I'm an alumni, so I'm kind of biased in the debate. But all the way back from the LSU days, these two guys have been monsters. The same as Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So
yeah, yes, they have.
I think you need to open the case back.
No double jeopardy. No double jeopardy. Speak your mind. Argue your side, but there's no double jeopardy. Nabers has won. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's respect. I was more on the Brian Thomas Jr. side because of the physical side of it. I mean, it's not that deep of an argument, but it's football, man. He's 6'4", he's 210, 205. I mean, longevity wise for receivers, man, you got to pack a nice punch.
Is he 6'4"? I have him listed as 6'2".
Brian Thomas Jr.?
Yep. I don't think he's 6'4", bro. Ziggy, how tall is Brian Thomas Jr.?
Brian Thomas Jr. weighs 209 pounds and is 6 feet 2 inches tall.
Whoops.
Wow. Yeah, they are monsters, man. Both of them. They both are monsters, man.
You just move on. So, now, I will say Malik Nabers is 6 foot to 6'1", but he's under the 6'1" mark, so he's in the 6'0" and change category. But I mean, he's 200 pounds. He has the prototypical body of an elite wide receiver. We're not scared of Malik Nabers' size at all. But Malik Nabers is a tad bit smaller than BTJ. But BTJ is a monster. What other argument do you have though? You said big boy. Okay, big boy. That's good. He is a big boy. He's 6'2". It's big
for this year football. The way things are transitioning when it comes to football, man. It's good to have a nice footwork, route running, possession type receiver, but man, the speed alone with the NFL today, it takes the top off of defenses, man. He can be used a jack of all trades. They both can, but Brian Thomas Jr. being that physical aspect, 6'2", 210, take the top off of defense, and his route running is underrated. If you ask me, a lot of
very underrated. BTJ is 6'3". He's not Knights. I just told you he's 6'2". Ziggy just told you. I just told you. You can't will it into existence because you think it. Nabers is.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Calm down, Ziggy. But Matt, you're spreading fake news out there that Nabers is 5'9". He's 6 foot. These are combine measurements, Matt. You can't fudge it anymore. You can't fudge it anymore. He's not listed as 6'3", Knights. I just told you.
Oh,
look at Sleeper. Look at the combine. Look at everything. People are rounding up. He's 6'2" and some change. You can't round up. Not at the combine. Not Zigmeister. Not to me. Now, yeah, there are some inaccuracies in some of those, like Breece Hall. He's 8 feet tall. You've got Kyron, who's 7 feet tall. Some of those are not completely accurate. All right, what else you got? Any other arguments?
No, sir, man. That's it, man. I like both of them, but
Yep. All right, bro. Later. Appreciate you. Yeah, it's a tough debate. I mean, it really is. At the end of the day, like, this guy could be. I think my example of Lamb being BTJ and Jamar Chase being Nabers is pretty damn spot on. And at the end of the day, you could have CeeDee Lamb finish as wide receiver 1, and at the end of the day, Brian Thomas Jr. could be wide receiver 1. Like, there's overlap, and that's what makes this on the verge of being a mistrial. There's overlap, and that overlap means that one could outscore the other any given season. But the fact that Nabers' range lives slightly ahead of BTJ's, in my opinion, the overlap makes this argument, happen, because people that are predicting, Nabers to play at the bottom end of my range and BTJ to play at the high end of my range, that would have BTJ higher than Nabers. There are years where that's going to happen. But at the end of the day, when I look at these two guys and I say, BTJ's got a good situation, but there's as many unknowns about his new coach coming in. There's as many unknowns about whether Trevor Lawrence can actually put it all together with a new coach, a new system potentially. There's a lot of reasons to be concerned about his situation, BTJ, not being the same. Like, he could have some change for the bad. There's as much unknown about his coaching situation as Nabers is, there you go, as Nabers is QB situation. So I think that the question marks are very even. The upside is very close. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove and I'm trying to make a determination as to which one I'd rather have, who has the more upside, I have to lean with the guy that I believe is slightly more talented. Slightly. Splitting hairs, both top 5 capable. I'm clearly just telling you this might be the next Jamar Chase. This might be the next CeeDee Lamb. It's not that crazy. It's not a complicated argument as who was it that just called in? I forget his name. As he just said, it's not that deep. It's hard to dig into and find some like hardcore concrete evidence for one over the other. All right, go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's really close. Even on the physical thing, I know people see BTJ's taller and they think, that means some things, but like Nabers he's got a higher vertical than BTJ. I think he has a better broad jump. He's got bigger hands. He benches more, so he can, that 1.5 or 2 inches BTJ has on him, he can, counter that pretty easily with all those other measurables. So, I mean, having a bigger vertical than a 6'2" guy at just 6 feet is pretty damn good. So
yeah. And his combine measurable came in at, I believe they did round up on NFL.com to 6'3". He's not 6'4", but they do have it at 6'3". But I believe the measurement, I want to say it was 6'3" or 6'2", and I don't know what it was, some change, but they did put him as 6'3" on NFL.com if you go to his combine page. But I do believe he is 6'2" and like 7/8 or something like that. But doesn't matter. He's right there. He's not 6'4", but he's definitely about 2 inches, maybe 2 inches and some change above Nabers. And while that's significant, Nabers is still getting it done. Like when I watch Nabers play, I don't feel like Nabers on any level is a short man or getting manhandled or not able to go get a jump ball with any defensive back in the National Football League. He's absolutely unreal at going up and getting jump balls. And so I don't really, when I look at this, say, oh, I like him more because he's taller. I don't feel that on the field at all. Nabers is just, it feels like Jamar Chase. He just feels like Jamar Chase in the making. And the size difference doesn't do much for me. It doesn't. He's tall enough. Nabers is getting up and getting physical at a height that it doesn't really do much for me. But like, look, BTJ, both these guys are going to improve and get better and stronger and faster and smarter. And there's a world where Brian Thomas Jr. gets a whole lot better, and let's say Nabers just kind of stays amazing right where he is. That stuff happens. We've seen it happen. We've also seen players hit sophomore slumps, so it's hard to really know. And one of the biggest cases in point in favor of that kind of conversation, or in that conversation in that realm of topics, would be that we just saw C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young have tremendously different seasons back to back from what they put on the field the year prior. And again, even though it's a different position, I think it goes to show that we don't know what's in store for a sophomore, no matter what the position is. C.J. Stroud looked top 5. It's very easy to remember it differently now and to try and pretend you knew C.J. Stroud was going to bust this year. But he was in the conversation of 4, 5, 6. He was giving advice to Caleb as if, he had already advanced so far past what the typical rookie quarterback had advanced through. He looked like a marvel. Like, I think there are only maybe, if you're starting a franchise as a GM before last year kicked off, if you're not lying to yourself, you're literally saying, I think if I had to pick a young quarterback to be my quarterback on my franchise that I was building up from the ground up, he'd be in the top 5 conversation walking into the beginning of this year. Now, all of a sudden, Bryce Young is way better looking going forward than C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's playing like Joe Shine's GMing. Stroud, go get your shine box. Like, it's weird. And now Bryce Young looks like a top 10 quarterback. And if they surround him with better talent, who knows what he could be. And I kind of feel vindicated on my early, I thought, botched call on Bryce Young being better than C.J. Stroud for my rookie profiles. And Ron Navy never let me live it down. And I'm starting to feel pretty good about it now. But that case in point is the perfect example to say, usually you can kind of tell how a player's going to grow from the rookie year to the sophomore year. But there is a world where Brian Thomas Jr. just matures and Nabers doesn't, or something, or Nabers matures and Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't. I'm excited for it. I'm absolutely excited for it. These two guys, I mean, we're talking about two rookies that were 6 and 4 out of all wide receiver rankings from last year through week 18. Number 6 and number 4. It's crazy. This wide receiver class was amazing. Absolutely amazing. What else you got, Travis?
It's pretty crazy, too, if you combine the wide receiver class with the potential quarterback class, what you could be looking at,
Yeah.
a few years down the line.
Oh, I know.
Just came out of that class alone. And
I know, bro.
on the same hand, people are going to, start to think, oh, that's every class. And people are going to be surprised over the next couple of years when classes don't turn out as good. And we've been really spoiled at wide receiver, too, just over the past, 5 or 6 years. Anyway.
Yeah. There's always a rotation. Everything's a circle. Everything in life is a circle. Everything comes back around. Even the way politics was going for a while, it seemed like it was going to go this way. Now it swings back this way. Like, everything is a cycle in life. You'll find that as you get older. It's amazing how everything is a cycle. Even the cycle you believe will never swing back around. Just like the running back's dead, And I've been through 2 or 3 waves of that, the running back's dead cycle. So people that have only played fantasy for 2 or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, that's minuscule to me. I played for I don't know how many years now. Professionally alone, 24 plus years, professionally doing fantasy football. So I've seen every cycle in the book. And when people said the running back was dead before Zeke Elliott entered the league, it was funny to watch the running back not only bounce back, but bounce back hardcore. The workhorse running back was never stronger than when Zeke Elliott was coming into his prime. So when I heard a couple years ago the running back was going to die, everyone's going to go to a 2 running back system, everybody's going to be in a committee, I just laughed because I knew that there'd be a Bijan, I knew there'd be a Jahmyr Gibbs, I knew there'd be, and look at us now, we've got tons of workhorse running backs, and while the position's kind of morphing into every running back can be a 50-60 reception rusher,
right.
And it changes their yardage, it's only going to make the position less injury prone. It'll make these players last longer. It will make a lot of things better and potentially increase their ADP or increase their NFL draft day stock. Look at the 2 rookie running backs we had Bijan's year go in the top 15. One, Bijan went number 8. And what pick was Gibbs? He was was he 12?
12.
Ziggy, what draft selection was Jahmyr Gibbs in the NFL draft? I think it was 12.
From Sportskeeda.com.
12.
He was the 12th overall pick in
So,
the 2023
two-
NFL draft by the Lions.
Ziggy, shut up. 2 top 12 picks running backs. Now Genty might go in the top 4. So the running back didn't die at all. Everything's a cycle. Everything's a cycle. So my point in saying that was that Nabers and BTJ and the quarterbacks, there's most likely going to be some bad, and that might be this year's class of quarterback. It could be this year's class of wide receiver. I mean, let's not act like Travis Hunter and Tet McMillan are neighbors and BTJ and MHJ. You can act like MHJ is not in this conversation. The MHJ haters out there, but he still is. He's an elite player. I don't know that the wide receivers are near as good, or even one can be near as good as the top 3. I don't think one can be as good as either of those 3. I think the quarterbacks are, you throw both these quarterbacks in last year's draft class, and maybe somebody takes one of them over Bo Nix or Penix Jr. because they don't know what time it is at that moment, but they're not better. So we're going to have the cycle go back toward, I think, mediocrity, except for Genty's going to be the running back. So everything's kind of up and down. It's rare to have the quality of quarterbacks and the quality of wide receivers in the same year lined up. It's like the solar system. It's like the planets are going like this, and every once in a while they line up together. I mean, to have JD5, to have Drake May, Penix Jr., Bo Nix, you notice how I didn't say Caleb Williams, to have those quarterbacks, top 10 quarterbacks with the wide receivers that we have, and one of them being unexpectedly BTJ over both Nabers and MHJ to a lot of people. So we have 3 elite potential wide receivers. It's wild. What a draft class we were fed. And I think Genty's going to lead the way, and that's why I'll have a video on this. We kind of already did the Genty video, but it's going to be more rookie stuff, is that the 1.1, the difference between Genty and everybody else in a 1 QB, and really even a 2 QB Superflex, the difference between Genty, the 1.1, and every other rookie draft pick, every other rookie player is so stark. Like, the difference is crazy. And I don't think you could have said that last year. I like the 1.1 better every year, always. I'll always sacrifice a lot to get in control of the situation and pick the player I want. But goodness gracious, man, the 1.1 and the 1.2 fantasy football rookie valuation of the draft capital, the rookie-only draft, the 1.1 blows the 1.2 out of the water. I would surrender maybe even multiple first-round picks to move up from 1.2 to 1.1. Or I wouldn't deal with it. I'd get out of the draft. Like, if I'm not interested in the draft capital in this rookie draft, and I'm not saying I don't like Travis Hunter. I'm not saying I don't like Ted McMillan. I'm not saying I don't like my boy Dylan Sampson. I'm just saying I'm not interested in the 1.2. I'm not interested in the high picks. I'd rather trade down and get Dylan Sampson and get somebody's doubted DK Metcalf or garbage in some sort of downgrade. Give me DK in the 1.6 and I'll give you the 1.2 and I'll draft Dylan Sampson and I get DK Metcalf. That's how I'm rolling if I don't get the 1.1. Anything else, Travis?
Sorry. Yeah. No, I think that's just something else too. Is every year, you see people kind of put weight on getting a top 5 pick, which is nice to have in any fantasy draft, obviously. But each year is to be a lot different from the other one. And you have to know where you're drafting and when you're drafting for Dynasty. I'm sure we'll talk about it more when we do a Dynasty show here or there. But like you said, a year like this year, the gap can just be so big. For last year, I mean, we had 3 or 4 wide receivers and then quarterbacks, all that, so it can make a huge difference.
Yeah. All right, my boy, I'll see you probably tonight. I think I'll go live tonight. I'm not positive, but I do think I will. And if I don't go live on this channel, I'll go live on the Dynasty channel. I want to try and do both. I always say that. One thing I never compromise is the 8 p.m. show, the main channel at all. But like the extra shows, sometimes I try and get back and then I don't. But I will do my best to get back for at least one show tonight, whether it's Dynasty channel, whether it's both. I might do a Out on the Streets show tonight, maybe. I'm not sure. A vertical poll type of show on mobile.
I've done those in a while.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Travis. Appreciate you. Later.
Yep. Later.
Oh. Who was your pick, Travis? Call in real quick, Travis. Just give me your 30-second take. I maybe you said it. I was busy moderating something, or I don't know, but. Thanks again, Case, for the super chat. And what's the word for the $20 hauler? You guys are absolute gems. But Travis, call back real quickly and give me your 30-second. You might have said it. I was doing some things and I missed it. Does anybody know what Travis said? What was he leaning? I think he said Nabers, but I just want to get his hardcore stance. I'll see you all later. Here he is. Let's see what he says. Travis, your 30-second take on which wide receiver you like better. I think you said it, but I didn't quite hear what your answer was. Go ahead. 30 seconds.
Yeah, I was Nabers mostly because, like I said, pretty much the only thing you can say against Nabers is size, and I don't even consider that a factor.
I don't see it.
If he gets a quarterback, it's going to be ridiculous. If you look at his average points per game, if we're talking fantasy, he had something like 11 points less than Brian Thomas Jr. in 2 less games. And just that he can go across anywhere on the field, strength. He's a carbon copy of Jamar Chase.
He just
a lot
is.
of what people said.
He just is. I mean, and I wouldn't even say he's a carbon copy of CeeDee Lamb yet. I'd say he's a carbon copy of Jamar Chase, Nabers is, but he's on the path to become CeeDee Lamb. I don't think he's CeeDee Lamb yet. I think he's a very good player.
BTJ, yeah.
I love BTJ. And I would take BTJ all day long in round number 2. All day long. Bookend, 14 overall, 15. I like it. I think it's a really good slot for him. But I would take Nabers at the bottom of 1, and I wouldn't hesitate. Whereas I think I would say, I mean, the bookend's different because essentially number 12 is number 13. So bookend picks, I could take both of them. I could go double decker. In fact, let's make this our first double decker. Let me see if I can find the double decker. Let's see here. Let me put, we got London as well, right? So let me fix the double decker up here.
The double-decker, pronounced double-decker in academic circles, is drafting wide receiver back-to-back in rounds 1 and 2, using these plethoras of players. The double-decker.
Let's take out MHJ now because he doesn't even, I mean, it's going to be fun to talk MHJ because we don't even consider him a second rounder by any means. I don't even think third rounder, so he'll be a steal. Garrett Wilson, I'm not going to keep him on here yet until we know his quarterback situation. Malik Nabers, absolutely. London, absolutely. Brian Thomas Jr., absolutely. Puka, I think you could put A.J. Brown down here in the second round. This is from last year, so bear with me as I move things around. St. Brown, J.J., Puka, Jamar Chase, obviously. But double-deckers normally implemented at the tail end of round 1. So even if we took J.J. out of this and said, okay, you could do double-decker from, I'll have to decide if I want to even have the double-decker representing an early draft pick or only the late, 10, 11, 12, maybe 9 draft slots. Then this makes a whole lot of sense. You get Nabers and you get Puka, you get St. Brown, you get Nabers, you get St. Brown, you get London, you get St. Brown, you get BTJ. You could go Nabers and BTJ. It's gonna be fun talking double-decker.
Do you think as soon as Nabers gets a competent quarterback, or if he gets one, say you got a competent quarterback, is he right into that like
10,
6, 7, 8 in the first round, or is he still at the back end?
I think he climbs to 10 immediately. I think right now people are uncomfortable taking him at 10. I think that's where the bold will take him. That's where I would take him. I wouldn't hesitate at Nabers at 10. But I think, he's 6, 7, 8 once he has Shador. Cam Ward, I think got 6, 7, 8. I think if he had Justin Fields, he could be like 7, 8, 9, like really close. But yeah, I did a show on this earlier where I said Nabers over Puka.
Yeah.
We were talking about Nabers and Puka. And I wasn't necessarily saying I'd take Nabers over Puka every time. I'm just saying this is a debate. And I wouldn't take Puka in 5 straight drafts. I'd take Puka in 2 or 3, and I'd take Nabers in 2 or 3. Like, I would mix it up. That's how close it is. Whereas, like, Jamar Chase, I'd take in all 5. Like, if I could take Jamar Chase or Puka or Jamar Chase or Nabers, maybe just to mix it up in case injury struck, I would take 1 share, or I'd trade down and take 1 share. But in a nutshell, in a vacuum, I'm taking Jamar Chase 5 times out of 5 over Nabers. I'm taking him 5 times, Jamar Chase, out of 5 over Brian Thomas Jr. I'm taking Jamar Chase 5 times out of 5 over St. Brown. I'm taking him over Puka 5 times out of 5. But I think Nabers and Puka are on the exact same level. I would take equal shares of each if I had 6 drafts, I'd take 3 Puka Nacua and I'd take 3 Malik Nabers. If I'm not mixing it up with other guys too. That's how much I love Nabers this year. And Puka, while I love him, Puka, while he gets amazing target share, Puka, while he, everybody and their mother wants to scream Puka's top 5 overall, I still think he's a big injury risk and only enough to consider moving him to 7, 8, 9, 10 overall. Like, understand what I'm saying. No one's hating on Puka, on Puka. I'm not saying to avoid Puka. I'm not calling him a major injury risk. I'm just saying when push comes to shove, this is a man that lays out for footballs like no other. He lands all over his arms underneath them. He's constantly laying out vertical, like a soccer goalie jumping for a ball. It's like he played goalie. Like, it's unbelievable, but he's putting his body in the worst situations time and time again. He is a walking injury. If you draft Puka Nacua, you're going to get a top 5 wide receiver per start, but you will miss 3 or 4 games every season, and then one day he's going to break and have a catastrophic injury. There's no saying that you don't invest in that. There's no saying to not have fun and draft Puka until that day happens. Puka's top 5 potential every single year at the wide receiver position. But when push comes to shove in a dynasty format, I'm taking Nabers every time over Puka. And in redraft, I'm splitting it dead even down the middle.
Do you think,
maybe we have a Nabers Puka combo. Dynasty show. They'll do that tonight, maybe.
Ooh, that's a good one.
All right, go ahead.
I was going to just ask quick, do you see anyone like, I just know there's been, rumors or whispers all the time about these guys now, like a Garrett Wilson or an AJB. Do you see like someone of that level of wide receiver getting traded this year, or do you think more likely we see like a Cooper Kupp get moved or something like that? Do you think any of that will happen?
Who were the names that you said earlier? Garrett Wilson and who else?
The first two was AJ Brown.
Anything's possible, man. I mean, AJB's been unhappy, so if it ended badly and he said, I want to be traded, it's possible. As far as Garrett Wilson, I don't think so, but it's not impossible, but I think not probable. I mean, he's such a young player.
Now, what about like Kupp?
Kupp for sure. Kupp could definitely get traded. Yeah. But did he prove anything at the end of the year to have a team want to go acquire him? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know that a lot of teams might not believe he has anything left. We'll see. He's still got a little bit of a chance to prove it, right? So maybe Kupp finishes on top here in the playoffs. If he has 100 yards and a touch in one of these games, definitely in the cards to trade him.
Sure.
All right, see you later, Travis.
Appreciate it,
later. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'll see you all tonight. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dynasty channel. I'll drop that link in the live chat. It's in the description of the video. It's also on screen. Dynasty link is right there. Do it live. I'll even pin that link right now in the chat. Make sure you're subscribed to Dynasty channel. I'm going to get into full go mode right here. YouTube.com/Dynasty Fantasy Football. Link is pinned in the live chat. I'll be back probably tonight on that show, if not also on the main channel in a vertical show where we do polls and I'm on the streets of Phoenix doing a live stream. I'll see you all later. Appreciate every single one of you. On that note, let's drop the BT new song while we are in the BT frame of mind.
He's BTJ. What you gonna do? He's BTJ. He's gonna put it on you. He's BTJ. Gonna have a good game. He's BTJ. Your mama screams his name. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do. BTJ is going to put it on you. There's not a single thing that you can do.
Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Live additionally whenever news breaks. Live most graveyard shifts and emergency style shows. See you all tonight. Make sure you subscribe to that Dynasty channel. That link is pinned. Link in the description, because we'll probably be on the Dynasty show tonight no matter what. And then we'll also be hopefully on the main channel as well. See you all tonight.